3 lessons from coaching a $100 million broker you can use today in your mortgage business. Hey, I'm Scott Beckford. This is the I Love Mortgage Brokering podcast. And every week we create content to help you in your mortgage business. This week, I'm going to share with you a conversation I had with a $100 million a year producer. I'm going to share with you 3 key takeaways from that conversation that you can apply to your business, no matter where you're at today. Maybe you're doing 10 million, maybe you're just looking for your first 10 files, but these lessons will still be valuable to you. Before I jump into that, I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors. OwnWell is an amazing tool for mortgage brokers. It allows you to monitor your clients' buying power and home equity on a monthly basis, sends these really cool reports, and it creates conversations around that home equity and that buying power. And you can even use it to adopt other people's databases like real estate agents and financial planners. Check them out at ownwell.ca/Scott and check that out. They're awesome. Okay, let's jump into it. 2 things I love to do. I love creating content and I love coaching. I love talking to smart people because when I talk to smart people, I also get better. I find when I have these conversations, I will often apply some of the stuff that we're talking about. I'll look at it and analyze myself and my business. And recently I had a conversation with a $100 million a year producer, did a coaching call with them. And I'm going to share you 3 takeaways from that conversation. Then I'm going to give you 3 questions to ask yourself so that you can dive into exactly what you need to work on next. So the first lesson came from, I started asking him about what did he love to do? What was the thing that lit him up the most and that he felt like he was the absolute best at and what took very little energy? And so I defined this as your superpower. So what I wanted to do is help him figure out what his superpower was. I know this guy pretty well. So I already knew what the answer was, but I got him to tell me. And he had said to me, for me, it's getting in front of people, building partnerships and creating strategies, not managing staff or chasing out paperwork or doing all the admin stuff. It was really about the clients and referral partners and creating those strategies around that is what this guy loved and loved the marketing piece. And so that's fantastic. So we must ruthlessly protect that superpower. Everything outside of that zone of genius, superpower, whatever you want to call it, we need to figure out how do we get rid of it because you can't scale. And this is true whether you're doing 10 million a year. There's probably parts of the job you love and you thought, if you could just do that all the time, you'd be a very happy mortgage broker. But you're not just doing that. One of my buddies, Wally Library, who's a top producer down in Dallas, he's got this down to so much better, even way further ahead than me. And he showed me his calendar and 80% of his time, and everything's in your calendar, by the way. I can look at your calendar, determine what your week and your month and your quarter and your year is going to look like. His calendar is 80% money-making activities, 15% leads to money, and 5% non-money-making activities. Well, usually these things that are in your superpower are going to lead to money. And what happens as mortgage brokers, we get stuck doing a lot of stuff that is not that. If you think about it, like if you're a Formula One race car driver, you're not changing your tires. That is not a good use of your time. You got to be thinking about how do I shave seconds off my lap? Which corner do I attack on? That's all the stuff you need to be thinking about. Same thing as a mortgage broker. You cannot try to spend all your time doing this. And incidentally, when we ran the 10 Loans a Month Academy, one of the first things we did to help people go from 10 to 25 million or 15 to 30 was to help them find their process. So map out everything step by step and then hire support to get rid of 20% of those tasks that take up 80% of your time. First step was to find the superpower. Okay, he knew what it was. I can't do 20-hour tasks. The second thing that we did was we diagnosed he didn't have a people problem. He had a hiring problem. Let me just try to clarify this a little bit. So he had some great people. And I've made this mistake. I've gone out and I've hired people because they're kind of like mini me's. I'm thinking, oh, this is so exciting. They're just like me. They're me, but they're a younger version of me. And if you hire yourself, you are going to hire somebody who wants to be you. If they want to be you, it's likely they're not going to stay working for you. So instead, we talked about he's basically fishing in the wrong pond when it comes to looking for talent. And some of the brokers that I know who build very successful teams around their personal production, they've hired ex-bank specialists, people who have operations manager background, or people who have gone out, tried the brokering thing, realized, oh my gosh, I don't want to be the salesperson. I don't want to be the face of it. I would love to work part of a team. Those people tend to be great employees. But if someone in their mind thinks, oh, once I learn this a little bit, I'm going to go out and compete against you. Or maybe even if they don't say that to you, if you think they want to be you, that's probably not the person you want to hire because you don't want to hire you. You want to hire somebody that takes stuff off your plate and loves the things you don't love. If they love the same things as you, you're going to have wonderful conversations and you're going to get each other excited. It will be a temporary assignment for both of you. It will lead to frustration. I can't even count how many times I've seen mortgage brokers hire a mini version of themselves. 18 months, 2 years later, that person's now left. They're doing their own thing. And the mortgage broker's frustrated going, I can't hire anybody. This doesn't work. How do I scale? And just because you didn't have a people problem, you realized you had to get somebody to help you. You just fished in the wrong pond and you got the wrong type of person. So again, I would say people who worked at banks, bank specialists, ex-bankers, some of an employee mindset who wants to get a salary plus a bonus. I don't like paying people on a split. It works in the short term, but in the long term, it can be very expensive for you and it creates the wrong kind of incentive. I want them to be focused on my production and getting the units to count out. So lesson number 2 is not the people, it's a hiring pond problem. Lesson number 3 was really about reverse engineering Your Ideal Workday. So you can end up at a lot of different places. And I did this just recently. I'm looking at some different big decisions that I'm making, and I fast forward 3 years. So this is what I do. I do this 3-year look ahead, and I say to myself, what do I want my 9 to 5, call it my ideal workday? What do I want my ideal workday to look like 3 years from now? And there's an income attached to that. So there's a couple of things. There's an income attached to it, right? So you need to decide, I want to earn X amount of money. There's a time, how many hours a week? I want to work Y amount of hours per week. For me, the thing I've added recently is, what do I want for vacation time? What do I want to be able to be completely off work? So there's 3 parts to that. And all of this, by the way, I'm going to want to spend as much time as I can in my zone of genius using my superpower. So the first is 3 years from now, what do I want to be making? Second is, how much time do I want to spend working? So how many hours a week? And what am I doing with those hours? And then the third thing is, how much time do I want off? I put those 3 things together. And so for us, he said to me, hey, I want to spend 3 to 4 hours a day creating marketing and partnerships, a couple hours a week or no more checking in with an ops manager, somebody who's taking care of the team, making sure people are hitting their KPIs, supervising, dealing with problems. And he doesn't want to be spending time holding client hands. And so what we realized after this whole discussion is the number one thing he needs to hire is, on the book Traction, they call it an integrator. An integrator is somebody who can take your vision. So if you're a mortgage broker, business owner, think of them like the number 2 who loves the operations side, the people on the operations side, and will execute on that so that you can spend your time again in your zone of genius. And again, if I use Wally as an example, Wally's got a thriving personal production. He's got a mortgage brokerage, just people that work for him. He's got rental properties. And so he told me he's got 9 integrators in his life. One of them takes care of all of his executive assistant. And this allows him to create massive leverage and work 24 hours a week, 7 months a year. That's a significantly different outcome than most mortgage brokers are working. Feels like 24 hours a day, 12, maybe 11 and a half months of the year. If you're lucky, you get 2 weeks off. And it's because we haven't actually thought about this like a business. We haven't shifted to a business owner. We're an entrepreneur and we are the business, and we have not learned how to step back and focus on and building people up and hiring the right people. So quick recap on this. First is protect your superpower. That's the number one thing you've got to do. You got to identify it. If you don't know what it is, that's first step. What is my superpower? The second is make sure you hire the right type of people. Do not hire mini yous. You do not need mini yous. If they are wired like you, they will not stay working for you. If you hired me to work for you, I ain't going to stay there very long. No offense. I mean, can't even imagine the scenario you'd have to put together to convince somebody wired like me or probably like you to do this, but it's going to be a temporary assignment. Third is to make sure you reverse engineer your ideal workday, not just your income. We often think about, I got a volume of 50 million. Yeah, but you're working 80 hours a week. That sucks. What if I'm doing 50 million, working 25 hours a week, and all I do is I spend, 10 hours a week doing marketing and prospecting, 15 hours a week, maybe 10 hours a week with client conversations. So those are discovery calls, 5 hours a week with my team. That's it. And the cool thing about the way our brains work is the more you can define exactly what you're aiming at, the easier it is to make decisions. Because if it's vague, then any decision can kind of get you there, right? I think there's a great quote that says, if you don't know which port you're sailing to, there is no favorable wind. Well, if you're not really clear on what you want, you're going to end up making a whole bunch of decisions that will lead you, and you'll be 3 years down the road or 5 years down the road. You'll be working too much, likely. You'll be making not as much money as you could, the work-life balance you want. And the way you do that is you got to reverse engineer it. And it's not just money. Personally, that's a mistake I made when I was younger, is I would just focus on, I want to hit a certain income amount, not realizing that 60, 80-hour work weeks were not conducive to having a marriage and a family. Lesson learned. So you have to think about what that whole ideal workday looks like. And I like to think of it income. I like to think of it my time. How does my time look in that week? How many hours do I want to work a week? How much do I want to make per week? I think of it per month. I want to make X amount per month. I want to work Y amount hours per week. And in that Y, I want to be doing these activities, are my 3 main things. And then the last piece is I want to take, Z amount of time off. You put that together and it makes every decision that comes across your desk, you look at it through that lens and go, is it going to help me get there or not? Nope. Chuck it. If it is, execute on it, take action. Hope you find that useful. I love doing these coaching sessions with our brokers because it just helps me also clarify even my own thinking as well as goal setting. I hope you find this useful. Hey, I'm Scott Peckford. As I always say, there's no problem in your mortgage business that someone else hasn't already solved. Your problem is who's got the answer. The goal is these podcasts provide some of the answers. One last thing, if you're not on my email list, every week I put together a newsletter that I send out, and I spend a lot of time on this, making sure that it's the most useful email you're going to get. This most recent one, I had some really cool AI hacks in there that we've been using. I share with you content ideas, where to get content ideas, how to create content ideas. And for me, it's a labor of love. I absolutely love putting this together. If you're interested, click on this episode to get on it, or find me on social. I've got a little link tree. You can click on that, get on my email list. I'd love to send that to you. Check it out. Thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.